Welcome. I'm genuinely glad you're here. If you found your way to this podcast, chances are you're someone who takes leadership seriously. Maybe you're running a team for the first time, and you're quietly wondering if you've got what it takes. Or maybe you've been leading for years. You've read the books, done the courses, sat through the workshops, and yet something still feels like it's missing. You're not alone in that, not even close. Because here's the truth that very few leadership programs would admit. The hardest part of managing people isn't the strategy. It isn't the KPIs or the budgets or the quarterly reviews. The hardest part is managing yourself, your reactions, your pressure, your thinking in real time when the stakes are high and the clock is ticking. And that right there is exactly why we built the Stoic Edge. I'm Mark Williams, Senior Consultant at My Management Coach. It'll be my pleasure to take you on this journey. Now, I want to ask you something. I would like you to sit with the question for just a moment before we move on. When you think about the greatest leaders you have ever encountered, in business, in history, in sport, in life, what quality do they all share? Now, it probably isn't that they were the smartest person in the room. It isn't that they never made mistakes. And it almost certainly isn't that they made some perfect management framework handed to them in a textbook. What the greatest leaders share is something far more fundamental. They knew who they were under pressure. They had a kind of quiet, unshakable clarity that allowed them to make good decisions when everyone around them was losing their heads. That quality has a name, and it's older than any MBA program, older than any business school, it's older than capitalism itself. It's called stoicism. Stoicism is a philosophy that was born in ancient Greece around 300 BC, and it was refined and developed by some of the most remarkable minds in human history. We're talking about people like Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who led one of the most powerful empires the world has ever seen, and who spent his private hours writing not about conquest or glory, but about how to be better today than he was yesterday. We're also talking about Seneca, one of Rome's greatest thinkers, who advised emperors and wrote letters on how to live and lead with purpose. And Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the most powerful philosophical voices of his age, teaching that true freedom isn't about your circumstances, it's about your response to them. Now, these weren't academics sitting in ivory towers. These were people under enormous pressure, political, personal, and professional. And the philosophy they developed wasn't just theoretical. It was a toolkit, a daily practice, a mental operating system designed specifically for people navigating a complex, unpredictable, and often brutal world. Does that sound familiar? Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. That's all very interesting. But Mark, what does a 2,000-year-old philosophy have to offer me right now in the 2020s? What can Stoicism give me that the latest management model, or the newest leadership framework, hasn't already covered? And that's exactly the right question, and it deserves a straight answer. Here's what Stoicism offers that almost nothing else does. It starts from the inside out. Most leadership models teach you what to do. Stoicism teaches you who to be. And that distinction changes everything. When you understand the dichotomy of control, the Stoic principle that separates what is within your power from what is not, you stop wasting energy on things you can't change, and you direct it precisely where it matters most. Instantly, your decision-making sharpens. When you practice what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, that is, mentally preparing for what could go wrong before it does, you walk into your most challenging situations not with anxiety, but with readiness. Your team feels it, your clients feel it. When you train yourself to see situations with executive objectivity, to strip away the emotional narrative and see facts as they actually are, you become the calmest, clearest thinker in the room. And in business, the calmest thinker almost always wins. And when you generally embrace the idea that obstacles are not interruptions to your leadership journey, they are in fact the journey, something shifts. Problems stop being threats. They become the very material from which great leadership is forged. And that is what Stoicism offers. Not a workaround, not a shortcut, a foundation. Over the course of this series, we're going to go deep. Episode by episode, concept by concept, we'll undertake the ancient wisdom of the Stoics and bring it into the modern business world, your world, in a way that is practical, honest, and genuinely useful. We'll look at how Stoic thinking applies to the pressure of performance reviews, the anxiety of leading through change, the frustration of managing conflict, the loneliness that often comes with seniority, and the very real challenge of staying grounded when the organization around you is anything but. We'll hear from leaders who are applying these principles right now, not in philosophy departments, but in boardrooms, in operations centers, on sales floors, in team meetings very much like the ones that you're running every week. And we'll give you something practical to take away from every single episode. Not theory for theory's sake. Real tools, perspectives, mental habits that you can put to work immediately. Because that's what the Stoic edge is really about. It's not about becoming a philosopher. It's about becoming unshakable. It's about leading with the kind of clarity, composure, and conviction that makes people want to follow you. Not because of your title, but because of who you are when things get hard. So, here's my invitation to you. Stay curious, stay open, and commit to showing up, not just as a manager, but as someone who is genuinely serious about the inner work that great leadership and management demands. The ancient Stoics believed that every single day was an opportunity to become a better version of yourself. Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, wrote those words to himself as a private manga, never intending them to be read by anyone else. There's something quietly extraordinary about that, don't you think? That same spirit is what drives this podcast, a commitment to daily growth, to honest reflection, to the idea that the best investment you will ever make in your business is the one that you make in yourself. Welcome to the Stoic Edge. This is just the beginning. New episodes drop every week. Find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if today's episodes spoke to you, share it with a leader or manager in your world who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay sharp, stay grounded, and remember, the obstacle is the way.